Fire Guy Ryan.
Hello.
We were chatting last week, preparing for what was about to drop, the information, the announcements. And what research did we end up doing on YouTube? Because we didn't look up just any publisher. We went back to the 90s. We were inspired by this day.
Little known publisher. Yeah, you might not have heard of it. It's called Image.
Image Comics. Founders Day, you know, is a group of creators. You already know who they are, I'm sure. But they were interested in changing the industry. They weren't as excited about what was happening, specifically between the big two, Marvel and DC. And they quit, like literally left the place of work and said to their bosses that we're leaving, we're taking artists and starting our own thing because we want to serve our community differently. And that's the vibes we got from this, wasn't it?
I did. I certainly did.
Whatnot Comics Publishing. Whatnot Publishing has been announced, and we have co-founders here at the table. Hot damn comic fam. Who do we have, Fire Guy Ryan?
We are, of course, talking with Michael Calero and Kevin Rodatelli.
Michael, can you please take over? Because you're not just publishing comics. You're an active writer in this. We have an Ash Can here that debuted, Alpha Betas, Quested, and I'm seeing your credits all over the place. Let's chat. What is Whatnot Publishing doing?
As awesome as to hear it said in the same idea as Image Comics, we're starting something that we hope can do something different in this industry. Obviously, those are lofty shoes to fill, and that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to do something completely different, blaze our own path with this. But those kind of comparisons aren't like lost on us. Like those are the kind of things that we see, and we're like, that's what the industry needs right now,
Sure.
to some degree. And there's plenty of publishers doing amazing work, but what we kind of set out is like, let's do the things that other publishers might be, you know, a little bit more conservative to try. Let's not worry about how this looks from a PR standpoint and just do the comics that we want to make, do fun books, do exciting projects that maybe wouldn't happen anywhere else. My name being on this book was a product of, this started out as I was coming out of Starburns Industries Press, which was the publishing arm of Starburns Industries, who did Rick and Morty, HBO's Animals, animation studio, really great people. We were doing books with them for a number of years, and we started to get a lot of projects that didn't fit the Starburns vibe. It's a very specific style. And so we started saying, okay, myself and Trevor Richardson, one of the other co-founders, we were saying, well, let's start building the place where this can work. You know, we had Alpha Betas, which was in production already as an animation. So that was kind of just a book that made a lot of sense. Trevor and myself do artwork on that.
Alpha Betas, it's fantastic. I got to read the first few issues, and I'm noticing here at the end of this preview that it's being announced as the first release, Alpha Betas. How this came together so quickly. What has your last 8-9 months been like? Like, Kevin, you've probably been through a whirlwind with all this.
Yeah, dude. Just for me, comic book has been like a wild journey. It's kind of weird because if I go back to the beginning, you know, I'm from Quebec. That's the accent, like French Canadian. And I was not into comic book at first when I was like maybe 12. You know, I was like, comic books just like punches. I had like the whole Batman TV show in mind, you know, as any kid that is not into comic book, into this world, I guess. And I did go to watch the movie Watchmen by Zack Snyder, and that was like an eye-opener. I was like, man, comic book can be something more than just punches. You know, there was content, there was like energy, there was something, there was a message about it. So I did go to my local comic book shop and grab the Watchmen graphic novel.
There you go.
And boom, I was like, I need to read more. And I started to like buy comic book, crazy. Mom, can I have some money? And then at 16 years old, actually, I did buy my first share into the local comic book store. And I started to be a comic book store owner. And work in comic book store, have my own share of the company, and really understand like the business, the distribution, working with Diamond as a retailer, and really understanding the what was the process to be a publisher. And I was really interested to build up a business because I've always been like a creative guy and wanted to work into film and stuff like that. But yeah, I did all of it, you know. And one thing that always come back when you're a fan, you're a retailer, you're a creator, a publisher, because I did all four, it's community. And that's what I love about Whatnot. It's the community all together, one place, and that can meet together. Like creators, readers, retailers, they're all together. And that's the first time that I really feel it in the comic book industry since I'm there. It's like, it's not like separated by group. Like everyone are part of one party. And that's what I love about Whatnot. And that's why I wanted to launch this thing and be part of it, because I feel like Whatnot is changing the game and bringing back everyone together and going back to this like energy that we had in the 90s. I was not there. I'm 25, but from what I saw from the documentary, yeah, pretty old Michael Keller right there.
Pretty old Michael Keller. That's now the byline.
No, he's not that old. But yeah, that's what I want to live, actually. Like, for everyone that was not there at that time, and we were kind of like, everyone that is into comic book, we saw that era like on footage or just like article or like the sales number and stuff like that. I want to be one of those guys. Well, of course, it's kind of really ambitious, but that could contribute to bring back that vibe, you know, and just like bring it to a next generation, just like bring comic book to a level that it should be, because comic book is the base of entertainment right now if we look at the box office numbers.
That's true. I mean, we were chatting with Jack DeMeo, and that's actually one of the things that was most exciting about this launch for me, is that Whatnot as a company is filled with comic collectors, readers, and lovers, right? And retailers, and now publishers, and people who've done this in the mainstream as well. This is like in a good way, a very dangerous thing, because we have the right minds behind these titles, and they're going to cater to the parts of the community that's been, to many, been lacking, and that's also been really holding it up and keeping it alive. And that's a lot of the comic family that we describe here on the show. Ryan, you got a chance to read Alpha Betas. As a brief preview, I did as well.
Not enough of it, yeah.
Not enough is a good way to say it.
It's a tease. It's a very short but punchy tease of this.
There are short previews of 4 different series in this issue that we have. So you get maybe 2-3 pages, just a taste. And yeah, we got 3 pages here of Alpha Betas #1. And it might be my favorite.
It's my favorite too. I'm excited. This is my first one. But here's the thing though. The other, I would say you get more from the Alpha Betas in preview in this than any of the others. I'm interested to know what's going on in all the others, and we're going to be talking about that with various members of the creative team. But definite Rick and Morty vibes, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And it makes sense.
It makes sense. It started out as there's a pilot that aired last year, produced by 3 Black Dot and Starburns Industries, obviously the original studio behind Rick and Morty.
Sure.
So there's that DNA is baked into it. It is definitely also a product of Kyle Stark's his wit and his kind of that comedy he can bring on to comics, which is super hard to do. It's very hard to write comedy comics and make them actually punchy. And
for those who don't know, Kyle, who's not here today.
Yeah,
but
he's not here, sadly.
But a major contributor to Rick and Morty.
Major contributor to the comic books, Rick and Morty. He also has a new series at Image Comics that's just absolutely amazing. I hate this place. Yes.
He also did 6 Sidekicks of Trigger Keaton.
So good.
Oh.
Hilarious. Yeah, that, like you said, it's really hard to do. Like they're called comic books, and it should be easier to make like some that are funny. But it's a hard balance to strike. And when you get like a good writer who can really nail the humor, it makes it stand out that much more.
I have a friend who plays a lot of multiplayer games, and while they are playing with their friends, I give them the space because it's a thing. They're together. There's 5-6 people on their squad, and I see a different version of themselves. They're yelling at their friends. They're totally joking around. They're giving them a lot of zazz, and I'm getting that vibe from Alpha Betas. This right here is like if you're in this multiverse, this video game verse with your homies, just chilling. This is what goes on, and it's playing out in a Rick and Morty vibe.
Yeah, you're not wrong. We're definitely watching a group of 4 friends play an online game together. And we, at least in these few pages, we don't get any glimpse of what they're actually like, off screen, off game.
But we do know it's coming out in October, and we're going to find out. But also, we have to talk about another title, Exiled. This right here was came out of nowhere that this would be announced this week. I heard rumors that this may be happening, but it's in the preview. Wesley Snipes is attached.
Yes.
Can you explain?
I'll let Kevin start that one out because he was the one who brought this to us.
Did Wesley Snipes just see Berserker and go, I need that? Because he has drawn himself in his book.
Yeah, that's what he did. The story is so great. Like the 2 guys working on that, Keith and Adam, nail it with Wesley. Wesley is actually really a good writer. He's passionate about the project, and the guys are nailing it. It's really good stories. If you are into 7, Blade Runner, you're gonna love that book. As a publisher, like maybe 8 hours of my day is actually just looking around what people are doing. And I saw that thing online. I was like, Wesley Snipes is doing a comic book. Blade is doing a comic book. Who's the publisher? I go, it's a Kickstarter?
It's a Kickstarter.
Yes.
So you scooped him up.
Yeah, I was like, I messenger that guy now.
It's like, hey, welcome to Whatnot, Wesley Snipes. Let's go.
And it was super quick. Like I did talk with Aiden, and Aiden was like, yeah, let's do it. It just makes sense. We need to do it. And we had like few calls and stuff like that. And the connection with those guys is just perfect. Like they understand the business model and whatnot and what we want to build with whatnot. So it's like perfect synergy with the guys. And Wesley Snipe is super cool. It's like making videos for the promos. Like you really want a comic book to succeed. You really want to start a franchise. He is doing everything to push this as a franchise. We already have like the first 6 issues miniseries in production, plus a prequel one-shot already in production. So the guys are really pushing it super far.
And that was actually kind of where this started at. Was the original approach was we wanted to do like a special release for their Kickstarter.
Yep.
That was the first.
It wasn't
objective.
even.
It wasn't originally about doing a full series. We wanted to do a special release. We knew Whatnot would be interested in doing that. And then speaking about that, it just started to make sense. You know, we found out they were doing this, you know, very beautiful release through Kickstarter that they're funding right now. They had no plans for doing single issues through comic book stores, and we're like, okay, well, we're launching this, and
We can help with that.
This is perfect. That was one of the things that really made sense when things just always kind of kept falling into place. You know, Alpha Betas was something we were working on already, and it just made sense as the first title. Exiled, it was something where, you know, we can provide something and we can make it special in a different way than the Kickstarter can. And at the same time, both things.
And it does fit with a Whatnot brand, you know, with all the stuff they do with Fan Expo, with the actors and stuff like that. Like we bring in Wesley Snipes, and after, who's going to be the next actor, or like big Hollywood people are going to work with us? We don't know.
This right here, this gets Wesley Snipes in the door, and it also means that we're going to see, you know, if this is just one example of an actor who doesn't typically do a whole lot of public appearances, doesn't do a whole lot of signings.
He's very
you know?
private.
The first Marvel superhero, right? Like to be on screen.
It is.
Blade, I believe, is the first.
Modern, you know, the modern iteration
in the modern era,
superheroes,
right?
yeah.
And we only get a taste of it, but clearly this is a violent book, and it discusses in the preview the Red Friday attack.
Right. Again, this is a really, really small preview, and it's almost frustrating. In how
I want
small
more.
it is. Exactly, because like you're turning the pages, and you're like, what's happening? You turn the page, you get a little bit of explanation. You turn the page, it's the next book. So you just get a taste, but it's enough to make you want to figure out what's happening.
But talk about this 2-page spread.
Right. He's witnessing this horrible event that happens that like dissolves people's bones.
That's right.
But not him. He's in the room. He's the only person that survives. And the overall mystery that I can tell from this is going to be why.
That is a big part of this story.
Okay.
Yes.
The Exile.
Right?
The Exiled, coming out in January 2023.
And the thing that I love about it is that you can't not read it with his voice in your head. Like, as you're reading it, you're like, oh, yeah, I'm reading this in Wesley Snipes' voice.
I have to assume that because Whatnot's involvement and the people who are behind the curtain who understand what collectors want, you know, I'm thinking like Blade homages need to happen. You know, things like whatever we can get away with. Are you finding that these kind of conversations are pretty easy with creators? Like, hey, we know what the collectors want. This is what they want. Let's give it to them.
There's things that are just naturally gonna like be the first thing you think of. Obviously, like the Blade homage is just something you immediately like, oh yes, that would be amazing.
But I would imagine a lot of people would say no to that. Like a lot of actors like, no, can't touch it. You know,
There are definitely like those things that you have to balance out with, like when does an homage become just trying to like
too much.
steal a fan base?
Sure.
Like that's not what we want to do. We want to, if we're gonna homage something, we want it to be like a really respectful homage to that.
of course.
And at the same time, like something that the artists really want to do too. I mean, there's artists that will not want to do an homage and will want to do something completely original. And we want to encourage that just as much as the homages.
So Alpha Betas being the first launching title of Whatnot Publishing, this had a really interesting start that had YouTube personalities attached.
Yeah. So the animated series itself was already in production with Starburns before the press side got involved. And what we came to the table with was, what do you want to do with this? What are some like kind of dream things you want to do with this series? And a comic book was just a natural thing for this.
I'm hoping that more and more that happens. They're like, oh, I'm
Same.
doing an animation, and then you're like, well, hold on. Do you want a comic book, a whole series? You can go to Comic-Con and meet your fans, and they can get a more in-depth version of their story.
Yeah, and the thing that's great is that the people behind the animation, they, even though they're not comic book guys, they're still in this ecosystem. Being YouTube gaming and content creators, a lot of their fan base, there is that bleed through of that. And so someone like Vanos Gaming, who has just a huge following on YouTube, those fans, when they saw we did an animatic trailer to kind of preview this,
Millions of views.
So the episode itself, the pilot, had 7 million views within, I believe, maybe a few days. So just an insane response, and immediately all of the fans were like, "What's the next thing?" And we had this already in production at that point. And that became the kind of the 1-2 punch, was like, hey, here's this comic book that we're working on. That video just instantly blew up, and people started asking for more. And they did voices for this scene here. If you go on YouTube, there's a animatic version of it that you can listen to the whole thing. And so it was a really great start to like a book series that's based off of animation. And then we got to run with it, Kyle and myself. Like, how do we make this animation that's so punchy? How do we turn that into a comic book that is equally interesting?
And the first launch of a new comic publishing company is an option title. Hot damn, Comic Fam. That's how Whatnot is doing it. Fire Guy Ryan in the house. Any last words about what you are seeing here?
Makes me want to go watch it. You know?
Yes.
It's definitely not something I would seek out and watch on my own, but after reading the comic, I am very much like happy to admit that I was wrong. I'm gonna go check this out on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm definitely not like a comedy guy in my comics. I'm a horror guy. I like weird stuff. But when I laugh, it matters. And I was sitting here, and I also have to point out, there's a Wesley Snipes joke in this comic.
There is.
Was that separate?
Absolutely separate. And it
Really?
No, it's absolutely.
Yeah, totally, dude.
It feels natural. It fits. It
fits
works
perfect.
on its own. Yeah.
At the time when we made this, we hadn't actually come together as an editorial team.
Oh, okay.
Trevor and myself were working separately at this time. And so when we made this book, and that joke was in there, and it happens to be in this perfect, lineup of pages, we put them next to each other. We're like, wow, that's perfect. It goes right into a Wesley Snipes comic.
It's pretty
The next
crazy.
page. Yeah.
The next page. And from my understanding, I don't know if this is okay to say, but like, I don't think the Exiled was planned to be in here.
Not at all.
Until recently.
The Exiled is of the 4 books, the Exiled is the most recent addition to our lineup. And it came together, just Adam specifically is amazing to work with. It was just instantly we hit it
Perfect
off.
match.
Like, this is
Yeah.
perfect match. So it's just gone so much smoother than just any other.
Super quick.
Yeah.
We just set up like a cool thing for San Diego Comic-Con with the Exiled people and Wesley Snipes, of course. So just teasing a little bit for everyone going to be at San Diego Comic-Con. We're going to do something super cool with Wesley.
Oh yeah.
You're going to be on place, maybe live on Whatnot. We don't know.
That's right. Comic Time 101 on Whatnot, Comic Fam. Let's do it.
That's his first time.
Comic Fam, Whatnot, Publishing, Michael Calero, Kevin Rodatelli. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, guys.
This book has hit $20. Let off the gas, Comic Fan, unless you're really gunning for some jackfruit goodness.
$75 cover price on this. Don't overbid. But if somebody wants it, we got it.